Upgrading can seem like a tedious task, but Izenda makes it simple and straightforward to move to new versions of the product without losing anything out of your current environment. This video will serve as a guide to walk a user through the upgrade process of an independent BI portal instance of Izenda, similar to the one set up in our initial install video. Feel free to rewatch the install video, as many of the same concepts, file structure, and process will be similar to what was in that video. Also, be sure to follow along on our upgrade guide found on our wiki. Prior to beginning the upgrade process, there are a couple of items, tools, and permissions that are required for this process that you want to make sure you have ready prior to moving on. This includes Izenda's installation packages, including any Izenda system database upgrade scripts, Izenda's front-end and back-end packages like the ones we used in the installation video. As well, it'll be important to have the database client GUI to connect to Izenda's system database, an administrator account to this database, Izenda web server administration account, and maintenance notice prior to the upgrade process. With everything in place, the user will now need to do an Izenda system database backup in order to make sure that no important information is lost. In order to do this, log into the server that contains the Izenda system database with an administration account. Once this is opened, right-click the Izenda database, then click Tasks, and then Backup. In the newly popped out window, choose the backup type of Full and Backup Component Database. Be sure to name the backup something useful that can be easily located and referenced at a later date. In this case, perhaps the date of the backup would be the most beneficial. Select the destination disk for the backup and then select Add. Then, select the file name and file path. With all this in place, you'll need to hit the OK button to move through alert boxes. Once these steps are completed, your Izenda system database has been successfully backed up. Next, we'll need to make sure that any useful files out of our Izenda web deployment are backed up. This is important as we do not want to lose some of the more important files associated with our deployment. To do this, we'll need to have Izenda deployment folder and IIS open so we can manipulate the directories contained within. To back up these directories, we will simply need to copy the current API and UI folders from this directory and then paste them into a safe location that will not be wiped during our upgrade process. Now, with our old file secure, we are free to move on to upgrading the system database with any changes in the new release. First, we'll need to identify the current Izenda system database version by right-clicking the Izenda database and then selecting New Query. Then, we'll run the query Select Version from Izenda DB Version. The result of this query should display the current database version running. We will also need to ensure that our Izenda system database is gradually upgraded to the latest version. This means that if there are multiple versions from your current version to the latest, each version's upgrade scripts will need to be run prior to moving on to the next. For example, if the current version is version 3, then all of version 1 and version 2 scripts will need to be run prior to finalizing the upgrade for version 3. To do this, open the Izenda System Database Upgrade script folder. Then, through SQL Server Management Studio, open the script in the folder that upgrades from the old version to the next version above that. Continue this process until all update scripts have been run, in order, all the way to the current version. Finally, we will need to take the configuration files from the newly downloaded directories and place those contents into the existing folder structure. Be sure to make copies of these directories prior to moving on, as this process could potentially overwrite everything within these folders. At this point, remove the files from the API and UI folders until they are empty. Then, with the freshly downloaded API and UI directories, place the contents of the new files into the cleaned out directory. Then, to bring in data from your previous deployment, in the standalone UI folder, make sure to copy over the izendaconfig.js and web.config files from the backup. For the API folder, replace the default files with your backed up copy of the izendadb.config and web.config files. Once these steps are completed, make sure to do an IIS reset on the command line, start up the website again, and browse to it. The environment should now be upgraded to the latest version of Izenda. In case of error, make sure to replace the existing file structure with the backed up files. This way, Izenda can continue running and the user can then troubleshoot issues without losing uptime on the deployment. Also, be sure to revert your database back to its original version. These components need to match in order for your deployment to work properly. Izenda offers regular upgrades to continue evolving the product while resolving any issues that may arise. Maintaining an up-to-date version of Izenda serves as the best practice for optimizing the Izenda experience. Be sure to check out some of the other videos offered by Izenda to learn more about the product and how Izenda can best serve any company's business intelligence needs.